The year was 2187. Humanity had spread across the solar system, building homes on Mars, mining operations on Jupiter's moons, and research stations that floated in the darkness of space. The Orion space station sat at the edge of the solar system, the furthest point of human reach. It was both a scientific outpost and a military checkpoint. Lieutenant Jack Mitchell stared out the viewport at the endless stars. At 35, his brown hair was already showing hints of gray at the temples. Stress did that to a person, especially when they were responsible for the health of 300 people in the emptiness of space. "Beautiful view today," he said to no one in particular as he sipped his coffee. The medical bay was quiet this morning. Jack liked it that way. As the station's chief surgeon, quiet days meant everyone was healthy. He finished his coffee and began his morning routine, checking supplies and reviewing patient files. The calm morning ended with a station-wide alarm. "All personnel to alert stations," Captain Powell's voice echoed through the speakers. "Unknown object approaching at high speed, possible collision course." Jack rushed to the command center, where screens showed a small ship tumbling through space toward them. Its trajectory was erratic, suggesting damage or malfunction. "What is it?" Jack asked, joining Captain Diane Powell at the main console. Captain was a tall woman with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Unknown design. Definitely not one of ours. First contact scenario is possible." The bridge crew watched as the alien vessel spun closer, trailing debris. "It's going to crash into the southern quadrant," said Officer Sam Kelly, his fingers flying over the controls. "Impact in 3 minutes." Captain Powell made her decision quickly. "Prepare defense systems, but hold fire. This could be a distress situation." Jack studied the screen. "That ship is badly damaged. There might be survivors who need medical help." "We don't know what's on that ship, Doctor," Powell replied. "The alien vessel crashed into one of the station's outer docking bays." The impact shook the entire station. Alarms blared as emergency protocols activated. "Breach in docking bay 7, reported Officer Kelly. "Atmosphere containment holding." Jack grabbed a medical kit. "I'm going down there." Captain Powell caught his arm. "That's not protocol, Lieutenant. We send security first." "With respect, Captain, if someone's dying down there, waiting for protocol could kill them," Jack said. "I took an oath to help the injured. I didn't specify which species." Powell frowned but nodded. "Take a security team with you. First sign of trouble, you pull back." Jack hurried to the crash site with 4 security officers. They wore standard environmental suits as a precaution. The docking bay was a mess of twisted metal and sparking wires. The alien ship had smashed through the outer doors before emergency systems sealed the breach. "Life signs?" Jack asked, scanning the wreckage with his medical device. "There," said Officer Grace Wilson, pointing to a section of the crashed ship. "One life form. Faint readings." They approached cautiously. The ship's design was unlike anything Jack had seen before. Smooth, almost organic in appearance, with no visible seams or panels. A section had torn open in the crash, revealing the interior. Inside, they found her. The alien was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin was a pale blue, with markings that resembled scales running down her arms. Where hair should be, she had what looked like small tentacles that hung limply around her face. She wore some kind of armor that had cracked in several places. Dark purple blood seeped from wounds on her side and head. "She's injured," Jack said, moving closer despite the security team's warnings. The alien's eyes snapped open. They were entirely black with no visible pupils. She growled something in an unknown language and tried to move, reaching for what appeared to be a weapon at her side. The effort caused her to cry out in pain before she collapsed again. "Stand." "Back, Doctor," warned Officer Wilson, raising her weapon. Jack shook his head. She's terrified and hurt. He slowly removed his helmet, ignoring protocol completely. I need her to see that I'm trying to help. He raised his empty hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. We're not going to hurt you, he said slowly. You're injured. I'm a doctor, a healer. The alien watched him with those black eyes. Her breathing labored. Jack pointed to her wounds and then to his medical kit. He mimicked treating an injury. Let me help you, he said. For a moment, they stared at each other across the gulf of species and language. Then the alien's eyes rolled back, and she lost consciousness. We need to get her to medical, Jack said, already checking her vital signs. With his scanner, she's going into shock from blood loss. Doctor, we have no idea what she is or where she came from. Officer Wilson protested. Station protocol for unknown alien life forms. Would you leave a human to die? Jack asked sharply. Because I wouldn't. Help me move her or stand aside. The security team exchanged looks, but helped Jack place the alien on a stretcher. They rushed her through the station corridors, drawing stares from other crew members. News of the crash had spread quickly. In the medical bay, Jack worked to stabilize his unusual patient. The alien's biology was fascinating. A circulatory system unlike anything he'd studied, organs in unexpected places. He was working largely on intuition and basic principles of medicine that he hoped were universal. Captain Powell arrived as Jack was sealing a wound on the alien side. What do we know? She asked, keeping her distance from the examination table. Female, as far as I can tell. Humanoid, but with significant biological differences, Jack replied without looking up. Advanced technology, based on her ship and armor. Currently stable, but still critical. And when she wakes up? That's the question, isn't it? Jack finally looked at the captain. She could be anything from a lost explorer to an advanced scout for an invasion. Powell's expression was grim. I've contacted Earth Command. They're sending specialists. Until then, she stays sedated and restrained. She's my patient, Jack said firmly. She's an unknown alien on my station, Powell countered. Keep her alive, Doctor. That's your job. Leave the rest to me. After the captain left, Jack continued. Working, he removed pieces of the alien's damaged armor, revealing more of the scale-like patterns on her skin. Despite the differences, there was something undeniably intelligent and sophisticated about her features. Hours passed. Jack refused to leave the medical bay, even when his shift ended. He monitored the alien's vital signs, adjusting treatment. As he learned more about her physiology, it was nearly midnight when her eyes opened again. Jack had been dozing in a chair beside the examination table. He woke instantly when monitors beeped to signal a change in her condition. The alien stared at him, then at the restraints around her wrists and ankles. Her face contorted in what Jack recognized as anger, despite her alien features. She spoke, her voice low and musical, despite the harsh words he couldn't understand. I'm Jack, he said, pointing to himself. Jack Mitchell. I'm trying to help you. The alien pulled against her restraints and spoke again, louder this time. Jack shook his head. I'm sorry about these, he said, pointing to the restraints. Captain's orders. You were hurt in the crash. I treated your wounds. The alien went still, studying him with those black eyes. Then she looked down at the bandages on her body. Back at Jack, something changed in her expression. Not friendliness, but perhaps a lessening of hostility. She spoke a single word, pointed to herself. Zaravesk? Jack smiled. It was a start. Over the next few days, Jack spent every spare moment in the medical bay with Zaravesk. The alien warrior remained restrained, which clearly angered her, but she had stopped trying to break free. Instead, she watched Jack with those black eyes. Beth seemed to miss nothing. "Your wounds are healing faster than I expected," Jack said as he checked the bandages on her side. He knew she couldn't understand his words, but talking seemed to calm both of them. Zara made a sound that might have been agreement. She had begun to respond to his voice, even if the words meant nothing to her. Dr. Alan Wright entered the medical bay with his tablet in hand. The xenobiologist was thin and nervous, constantly pushing his glasses up his nose. "How is our visitor today?" he asked, staying a safe distance from the examination table. "Improving," Jack said. "But these restraints aren't helping. She needs to move around to fully recover." Alan shook his head. "Captain's orders, Jack. Earth Command is sending a specialist team. They'll be here in 2 weeks." 2 weeks? Jack frowned. "She'd be fully healed by then. Keeping her tied down is cruel." "She's not human," Alan reminded him. "We don't know what she's capable of." As they spoke, Zara watched them carefully. Jack had noticed how she paid attention to their interactions, learning. She was intelligent, that much was obvious. "Has the translation program made any progress?" Jack asked. Alan nodded and handed over his tablet. "Some basic words, nothing complex yet." Jack looked at the screen and then at Zara. He pointed to himself. "Jack," he said clearly. Then he pointed to her and said, "Zara Vesk." The alien's eyes widened slightly. Jack tapped the tablet and showed her the screen where simple symbols appeared. "It's a start," he told Alan. "Better than nothing." That evening, an alarm blared through the medical bay. Zara's vital signs had dropped suddenly. Jack rushed in from his office to find her struggling to breathe, her blue skin turning a darker shade. "She's going into shock," he called to the medical staff. "Something's wrong internally." He quickly scanned her body and saw the problem. "There's bleeding near what I think is her heart. We need to operate now." Captain Powell arrived as they were preparing for surgery. "What happened?" she demanded. "One of her wounds reopened internally," Jack explained as he gathered surgical tools. "She needs immediate surgery or she'll die." The captain looked uncertain. "You barely understand her anatomy." "I've been studying it for days," Jack said firmly. "I'm her best chance." Powell nodded reluctantly. "Do what you can." Jack worked for hours, navigating the alien's strange physiology with careful precision. Her blood was purple and thicker than human blood. Her organs were arranged differently, and what he assumed was her heart had 3 chambers instead of 4. The surgery was the hardest he had ever performed. Twice he nearly lost her, but each time he managed to bring her back. His hands grew. Tired, his eyes strained, but he refused to stop. "Come on, Zara," he whispered as he worked. "Stay with me." 17 hours after he began, Jack finally closed the last incision. Zara was stable. He had saved her life, but the effort had drained him completely. He stumbled to a chair in the corner of the medical bay and fell asleep instantly. When he woke, Zara was watching him. Her restraints had been loosened to allow for the surgery and recovery. She made a soft clicking sound when she saw he was awake. Jack checked the monitors. "You gave us quite a scare," he said, smiling tiredly. He reached for the tablet with the translation program and tapped at it. The computer generated sounds that were an attempt at Zara's language. Her head tilted in surprise. She responded with words Jack couldn't understand, but the computer translated roughly, "Why save enemy?" Jack blinked. It was the first real communication they'd had. He tapped at the tablet again. "Not enemy," the computer translated his words. "Doctor, healer." Zara's expression was hard to read, but she seemed confused. She spoke again, and the translation came through, "Arkari, humans, always enemies." Jack shook his head. "Not always, not here." Over the next few days, as Zara recovered from surgery, they communicated more using the improving translation program. Jack learned that she was indeed a warrior, part of a species called the Arcari. They had been watching human expansion with growing concern. Your people spread quickly, the computer translated her words. Take more and more. Arcari Council. Worried. We're explorers, Jack explained. We want to learn, to grow, not to fight. Zara made a sound that the computer couldn't translate, but Jack thought might be disbelief. Captain Powell came to check on the patient regularly. She was less than pleased with Jack's growing rapport with the alien. Don't get too friendly, Doctor, she warned. We still don't know her intentions. She's just trying to survive, like anyone would, Jack argued. One morning, Jack arrived at the medical bay to find Zara attempting to stand. Her legs wobbled under her weight. Without thinking, he rushed to support her before she could fall. Hands touched her arms, steadying her. It was the first direct contact they'd had while she was conscious. Zara froze, those black eyes fixed on his face. Easy? He said gently. You're still healing. The computer translated his words. Zara didn't pull away from his touch, which surprised him. Instead, she studied his face, as if seeing something new there. Why? She asked through the translator. Why try so hard? I am nothing to you. Jack helped her back to the bed before answering. Because it's the right thing to do. Because every life has value. Zara considered this. Arcari warriors fight until death. No surrender. No help from enemies. Is that why you didn't want my help at first? Jack asked. She nodded. Weakness is failure. Jack shook his head. Accepting. Help isn't weakness. Sometimes it takes more strength to accept help and to die needlessly. That evening, as Jack was finishing his shift, the station shook violently. Warning alarms blared throughout the corridors. All personnel to battle stations. Captain Powell's voice announced over the speakers. Unknown vessels approaching. This is not a drill. Jack rushed to the window and looked out into space. 3 ships had appeared, their designs similar to Zara's crashed vessel, but much larger. He hurried back to Zara, who was now sitting up in her bed, alert. Your people? He asked. She nodded, her expression unreadable. They come for me. The translation. Program offered her next words. Now you will see. Arcari do not leave their warriors behind. Jack felt a chill as he realized what this meant. The Arcari hadn't come on a peaceful mission. They had come for their warrior, and they wouldn't ask. Politely, the first shots were fired minutes later, rocking the entire station. The station rocked again as another blast hit its outer shields. Jack grabbed the edge of Zara's bed to keep his balance. Those are warning shots, Zara explained through the translator. They could destroy the station if they wanted to. Jack looked at her. We need to stop this before people get hurt. Can you talk to them? Zara considered this. Maybe, but your people must not attack. Captain Powell burst into the medical bay with 2 security officers. The alien ships are demanding we release their warrior. They've threatened to destroy the station if we refuse. She looked at Zara with suspicion. Did you call them here? Jack stepped between them. Her ship was damaged. She couldn't have called anyone. My beacon, Zara said through the translator. In my armor, automatic distress signal. Powell's face hardened. So this is your fault. Another blast shook the station harder than before. Warning lights flashed. Shield integrity at 60%, announced the station's computer voice. Let me speak to them, Zara said, struggling to stand. I can stop this. Powell hesitated, then nodded sharply. Fine, but if this is a trick ... It's not, Jack said firmly. She doesn't want anyone hurt. They helped Zara to the communication center. Her legs were still weak from her injuries, and surgery. Jack supported her as they walked, noticing how station crew members stopped to stare at the blue-skinned alien dot in the communication center. A large screen showed the 3 Arcari ships positioned around the station. Their weapons were clearly visible and aimed directly at them. Zara spoke in her language, and the communication officer transmitted her message. There was a long pause before a response came. The screen changed to show another Arcari. This one was larger than Zara, with darker blue skin and more pronounced scale patterns. He wore elaborate armor with symbols that Jack assumed indicated rank. "Commander Krelvorn," Zara said quietly to Jack. "My superior." The commander spoke harshly. Zara responded, occasionally gesturing to Jack and the others. The conversation went back and forth for several minutes. "What's happening?" Powell demanded. Jack looked at the translator tablet, which was struggling to keep up with the rapid exchange. "She's explaining that she was injured, and we saved her life. He seems unhappy about it." "Unhappy how?" Powell asked. "He says she should have died, rather than accept help from—" Jack paused. "From inferior beings." Powell's expression darkened. "Charming." The exchange between Zara and Krelvorn grew more heated. Finally, Zara turned to Jack and Powell. "He demands I return immediately. They will send a shuttle. And then? They'll leave peacefully?" Powell asked skeptically. Zara hesitated. "Yes, but ... But what?" Jack pressed. "My mission was to scout your defenses for potential ... future operations." Jack felt his stomach sink. "You mean invasion?" Zara didn't deny it. "The Arcari Council believes humans will eventually threaten our territories. Commander Krelvorn leads those who think we should strike first." Powell swore under her breath. "So this isn't just a rescue. They're gathering intelligence." "I have told them you treated me with honor," Zara said. "That you saved my life when you could have let me die. And did that make any difference?" Jack asked. Zara's expression was grim. "To Krelvorn? No. Compassion is not valued in our culture. It is seen as weakness." The communication officer interrupted. "They're sending a shuttle to Docking Bay 3, ETA 5 minutes. Powell turned to her security team. "Escort our guest to the docking bay. Keep weapons ready, but not aimed. We don't want to provoke them." As they prepared to leave, Jack touched Zara's arm. "You don't have to go if you don't want to." She looked at him with surprise. "They are my people. My duty is clear. Even if they're wrong about us?" Zara didn't answer. They walked to the docking bay in tense silence. Security teams lined the corridors, watching warily as Zara passed. Jack stayed by her side, still helping her walk. "Will you be punished?" he asked quietly. "For accepting our help? Probably," she admitted. "But I am valuable as a warrior. They will not waste my skills." The docking bay doors opened to reveal a sleek Arcari shuttle. Its design was similar to Zara's crashed ship, but larger and undamaged. The side panel opened, and 3 Arcari warriors stepped out. They were all armed and armored, their postures aggressive. The lead warrior, a female slightly smaller than Zara, spoke sharply. "She says to step away from me," Zara translated. Jack reluctantly moved aside. The Arcari warriors surrounded Zara, checking her for injuries and speaking rapidly among themselves. "Tell them we come in peace," Powell said to Zara. "We have no desire for conflict with the Arcari." Zara translated, but the response from the warriors seemed dismissive. "They do not believe you," she told Powell. "They think humans are deceitful." Jack stepped forward. "You know that's not true. You've seen who we really are." The lead warrior raised her weapon slightly at Jack's movement. Zara said something sharp that made the warrior lower it again. "Be careful, Jack," Zara warned. "They are on edge." As the Arcari prepared to leave with Zara, Jack handed her the translator tablet. Keep this. In case you ever want to talk again. Zara took it after a moment's hesitation. Thank you for my life, Jack Mitchell. She turned to enter the shuttle with her people, but paused at the entrance. Looking back at the humans, she seemed to be making a decision. There is something you should know, she said. The Arkari fleet is gathering near your Neptune colony. Krelvern plans to use my capture as justification for a demonstration of force. Powell stepped forward. You mean an attack? When? 3 of your days, Zara replied. He believes humans must be shown their place in the galaxy. Why are you telling us this? Jack asked. Won't this be seen as betrayal by your people? Zara looked at him, those black eyes unreadable. Perhaps. But you showed me honor. I return it now. The lead warrior called impatiently from inside the shuttle. Zara straightened herself as much as her healing body allowed. Farewell, humans, she said, then entered the shuttle. The bay doors opened to space, and the shuttle departed, returning to the largest Arkari ship. Minutes later, all 3 alien vessels disappeared in flashes of light. Jumping to some form of faster-than-light travel dot in a suddenly quiet docking bay, Powell turned to Jack. Well, Doctor, your patient just gave us a warning about an imminent attack. Was saving her life worth it? Jack watched the empty space where the ships had been. She didn't have to tell us about their plans. That was her choice. A choice that might cost her everything, Powell said. We need to warn Earth Command immediately. As they left the docking bay, Jack couldn't help wondering if he would ever see Zara again. Something had changed in her during her time on the station. He hoped it was enough to make a difference in whatever was coming next. The next 2 days on Orion Station were filled with urgent activity. Captain Powell had sent Zara's warning to Earth Command, and they responded by sending 4 military vessels to reinforce the Neptune colony. Admiral Ben Harris arrived on the fastest ship to take charge of the situation. Jack watched from the medical bay window as more ships arrived. He had barely slept since Zara left, his mind filled with worry about what would happen next. You look terrible, said Nurse Kelly as she checked supplies beside him. Jack rubbed his tired eyes. Thanks for noticing. You miss her, don't you? The alien. Her name is Zara, Jack said. And yes, I'm concerned about her. She took a big risk warning us about the attack. The station intercom buzzed. Lieutenant Mitchell to the command center. Immediately. In the command center, Admiral Harris was standing with Captain Powell and several officers Jack didn't recognize. Harris was a tall man with gray hair and a serious face. He had a reputation as a tough but fair leader. Lieutenant Mitchell, Harris said, I understand you spent the most time with the Arkari warrior. Jack nodded. Yes, sir. I was her doctor during her recovery. And you believe her warning was genuine? Not a trap? I do, Jack said firmly. She didn't have to tell us anything. She could have just left with her people. Harris studied him. The Arkari fleet has grown to 7 ships near Neptune. They're not responding to communication attempts. What are our orders, sir? Powell asked. Defend the colony if attacked, but do not fire first, Harris replied. Earth Command wants to avoid an interspecies war, if possible. One of the other. Officers spoke up. Sir, our intelligence suggests the Arkari have weapons that could easily overwhelm our defenses. If they attack with full force, the colony won't stand a chance. Jack felt cold fear in his stomach. There must be something we can do. Some way to communicate with them. Harris looked at him. Actually, that's why I called you here. You have. The translation device you gave to the Arkari warrior, correct? We have copies of the software, Jack confirmed. Good, because we just received a transmission. It's encrypted in a way that matches the patterns in your translation program. Jack's heart beat faster. It's from Zara? "We can't be sure," Powell said. But it came through on a frequency only this station would recognize. The communication officer brought up the message on the main screen. It was a series of symbols Jack didn't recognize, but when they ran it through the translation program, words appeared. Neptune attack delayed. Krelvern suspicious. I am watched. Fleet divided on human threat. Need proof of peaceful intentions. Signal on this frequency if willing to meet. Jack read the message twice. She's trying to help us. Or leading us into a trap, one of the officers said. Harris frowned. Either way, it's our best chance to avoid bloodshed. He turned to Jack. You know her better than anyone. What do you think? Jack thought carefully before answering. I believe she's genuine. She saw something here that challenged what she'd been taught about humans. If there's a chance to avoid conflict, we should take it. Harris nodded. Captain Powell, prepare a response. We'll arrange a meeting, but with precautions. The next day, a small shuttle left Orion Station carrying Jack, Admiral Harris, and 4 security officers. They headed toward a set of coordinates in empty space between Neptune and Uranus. Jack felt nervous, but also hopeful. This might be their only chance to prevent war. Remember, Harris told everyone, we're here to talk, not fight. Show no aggression, unless absolutely necessary. They arrived at the coordinates and waited. An hour passed with nothing happening. Jack began to worry that something had gone wrong. Had Zara been caught? Was this a trap after all? Then the sensors beeped. A small Arcari vessel appeared, about the same size as their shuttle. It made no aggressive moves, simply hovering a short distance away. A communication system activated, and Zara's face appeared on the screen. She looked different. Her face bore new marks that looked like ritual scars, and her expression was guarded. Jack Mitchell, she said, her words translated. By their system. You came. Of course we did, Jack replied. We want peace, Zara. Admiral Harris stepped forward. I am Admiral Harris, representing Earth Command. We appreciate your willingness to meet with us. Zara nodded. I cannot stay long. Krelvern believes I am on a scouting mission. If he discovers I am meeting with you. We understand, Harris said. What can you tell us about the situation? The Arcari fleet is divided, Zara explained. Some, like Krelvern, want to strike. Now, before humans expand further. Others believe we should wait and observe longer. And what do you believe? Jack asked. Zara hesitated. I believe what I saw on your station. That humans are not the threat we thought. But my word alone is not enough. The Council needs proof. What kind of proof? Harris asked, a gesture. Something to show humans are not aggressors. Zara leaned closer to the screen. There is an Arcari. Sacred space near what you call Pluto. An ancient monument from our early explorations. Krelvern claims humans will destroy it once they discover it. Jack and Harris exchanged looks. We don't even know about this monument, Harris said. Exactly, Zara replied. If Earth Command publicly acknowledged its existence and promised to protect it as a cultural site, it would undermine Krelvern's argument. Harris nodded slowly. That could work. We can. Suddenly, Zara looked alarmed. Someone's coming. I must go. Her image disappeared from the screen. Moments later, a much larger Arcari ship appeared nearby. It immediately fired a warning shot that passed close to their shuttle. Evasive maneuvers, Harris ordered. Their shuttle pilot tried to turn away, but the Arcari ship fired again, this time hitting one of their engines. The shuttle spun wildly, alarms blaring. We're losing power, the pilot shouted over the noise. I can't control it. Jack held on to his seat as the shuttle tumbled through space. Through the window, he saw Zara's small vessel move between them and the larger ship. She was trying to shield them, The larger ship fired again, but this time at Zara's vessel. Her ship took a direct hit and began drifting. No! Jack shouted. Their damaged shuttle continued spinning away. The pilot finally managed to stabilize it enough to see what was happening. The large Arcori ship had locked onto Zara's vessel with some kind of beam and was pulling it in. "They've captured her," Harris said grimly. "She tried to protect us." "We have to help her," Jack insisted. Harris shook his head. "Our shuttle is badly damaged. We barely have enough power to return to Orion Station. But they'll punish her for meeting with us, maybe even kill her." "I'm sorry, Lieutenant," Harris said, his voice firm but sympathetic. "Our priority now is to get this information back to Earth Command. Her sacrifice might have just given us a chance to prevent war." As their shuttle limped back toward Orion Station, Jack stared out at the stars. Zara had risked everything to help them, and they were leaving her behind. The thought made him sick with guilt and worry. Back at the station, Jack went through the motions of treating the minor injuries from their rough escape. His mind was elsewhere, thinking about Zara facing her people's judgment alone. That night, he made a decision. He couldn't leave her to face punishment for doing the right thing. There had to be a way to help her. He went to Captain Powell's office with a plan so crazy it just might work. Captain Powell stared at Jack as if he had lost his mind. "You want to do what?" "I want to go after her," Jack repeated. "Zara risked everything to help us. We can't just abandon her." "Lieutenant, the Arcari fleet has 7 warships. We would be outnumbered and outgunned." "We don't need to fight them," Jack insisted. "Earth Command is already sending a message about protecting the Arcari monument, right? That gives us an opening for diplomacy." Admiral Harris, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. "What exactly are you proposing, Lieutenant?" Jack took a deep breath. "I think we should send a small team to the Arcori fleet under a flag of truce. We offer the formal protection of their monument as a gesture of peace. While there, we find out what's happened to Zara and request her release as part of the agreement." Powell shook her head. "It's too dangerous. They could just capture or kill our diplomats." "Not if we make it public," Jack argued. "Zara said the Arcari fleet is divided on whether humans are a threat. If we broadcast our peaceful intentions across all channels, the entire fleet will know. It would be harder for Krelvern to act against us." Harris considered this. "It's risky, but it might work. The Arcari seem to value honor and public displays of strength." "This isn't just about saving one alien," Jack added. "If Zara was right about the division in their fleet, this could be our chance to connect with the moderates who don't want war." After much debate, a plan was formed. Admiral Harris would lead a diplomatic mission to the Arcari fleet. Jack would go as part of the medical team, officially there to offer medical assistance to any injured Arcari as a gesture of goodwill. 2 days later, they approached the Arcari fleet in a vessel clearly marked with peace symbols from a dozen different cultures. They broadcast their message continuously on all frequencies. "Attention Arcari fleet. We come in peace to discuss the protection of your sacred monument and to establish formal diplomatic relations. We request permission to approach and meet with your leaders." For a tense hour, there was no response. Then a message came through. "Human vessel. You may approach the command ship only. Any deviation will be considered hostile action." Their ship was directed to dock with the largest Arcari vessel. Jack felt his heart pounding as they prepared to board. Would Zara be there? Was she even still alive? Admiral Harris addressed the team one last time. "Remember, we are here for peace. Follow protocol and show no aggression regardless of provocation." They were met by a group of armed Arcari warriors who escorted them through the ship. Jack looked around carefully, noting the advanced technology and the curious stares from other Arshiri they passed. Finally, they were brought to a large chamber where several Arshiri were waiting. Jack immediately recognized Krelvarn at the center, his dark blue skin and elaborate armor unmistakable. "Admiral Harris," Krelvarn said through a translator, "you are bold to come here." "Bold, but sincere," Harris replied. "We have come to discuss peace between our species." "Peace?" Krelvarn made a sound that might have been laughter. "While your kind continues to spread through the stars, taking whatever you want. That is a misunderstanding of our intentions," Harris said calmly. "Humans explore to learn and grow, not to conquer." Jack scanned the room as they talked, looking for any sign of Zara. He didn't see her among the gathered Arkari. The diplomatic discussion continued, with Harris formally announcing Earth's recognition of the Arkari monument and pledging to protect it as a site of cultural significance. Some of the Arkari seemed impressed by this gesture, nodding and speaking quietly. Among themselves, Krelvarn was less moved. "Words are easy. Actions matter more. Which is why we are here in person," Harris countered. "To show our commitment to peace through action." Jack finally stepped forward. "We also wish to inquire about warrior Zara Vesk. She was instrumental in helping us understand your culture." Krelvarn's black eyes narrowed. "The traitor? She faces judgment for her crimes against the Arkari." "Crimes?" Jack couldn't help the anger in his voice. "She tried to prevent unnecessary conflict. How is that a crime?" "She betrayed her mission and her people," Krelvarn snapped. "She was corrupted by her time among humans." One of the other, Arkari, an older female with lighter blue skin, spoke up. "Bring the prisoner. Let the humans see what becomes of those who forget their duty." Guards left and returned moments later with Zara. Jack's heart sank at the sight of her. She was in chains, her body showing signs of rough treatment. When she saw the human delegation, her eyes widened in surprise. "Jack?" she said softly. "Why? Are you here?" "To bring you home," he replied without thinking. Krelvarn stepped between them. "She has no home now. By Arkari law, she will face the challenge of truth. If she survives, her words about humans may be considered. If not ... double quotes, he didn't need to finish the sentence. "What is this challenge?" Harris asked. The older female Arkari explained. "A trial by combat, traditional and sacred." Jack looked at Zara's weakened state. She was still not fully recovered from her original injuries, and now she had new ones. "That's not fair. She's injured." "Fairness is a human concern," Krelvarn said dismissively. "Strength is what matters to the Arkari." Jack made a decision in that moment. "Then I challenge in her place." The chamber went completely silent. "Even?" Harris looked shocked. "Jack, no," Zara said urgently. "You don't understand what you're doing." "I understand perfectly," Jack replied, keeping his eyes on Krelvarn. "You said strength matters. Where I come from, standing up for someone who cannot fight for themselves is the greatest strength." Krelvarn studied Jack with new interest. "A human dares to invoke our sacred challenge? This is unexpected." The older female Arkari stepped forward. "The law allows it. A champion may stand for the accused if the council approves." After a brief discussion among the Arkari leaders, they agreed to Jack's challenge. The combat would take place immediately. The chamber was cleared, creating a circular space in the center. Jack removed his uniform jacket, standing in his undershirt. He had basic combat training, but nothing that would prepare him for fighting an Arkari warrior. His opponent was Krelvarn himself. The commander removed his ceremonial armor, revealing a powerfully built body covered in scale-like patterns. "The rules are simple," the older female announced. "Fight until one cannot continue. No weapons, no interference." Zara caught Jack's eye from where she was held at the edge of the circle. "Remember," she said quietly, "they fight to win, not for honor." The combat began. Krelvern was faster and stronger than Jack had expected. Within minutes, Jack was battered and bleeding, barely able to stay on his feet. But each time he fell, he got up again. "Why do you continue?" Krelvern asked during a brief pause. "You cannot win." Jack wiped blood from his mouth. "Because some things are worth fighting for, even when victory seems impossible." The combat resumed. Jack managed to land a few good hits, but he was clearly outmatched. Finally, a powerful blow sent him crashing to the floor. This time, his body refused to respond when he tried to rise. Krelvern stood over him, ready to deliver the final strike. Jack looked up, meeting his eyes without fear. "Enough!" Zara's voice rang out. She had broken free from her guards, and now stood between Jack and Krelvern. "He has shown more courage than any warrior I have ever known. Is this not the strength the Arkari claim to value?" She turned to face the assembled Arkari leaders. "This human risked everything to save me. Not once, but twice. Not for gain or advantage, but because he believed it was right. If this is not worthy of respect, then what is?" The chamber was silent as her words hung in the air. Then the older female Arkari stepped forward. "The human has indeed shown unusual strength," she acknowledged. "Perhaps there is wisdom in reconsidering our view of their species." In the days that followed, a fragile peace was established. The Arkari agreed to diplomatic talks, with Zara named as their ambassador to humanity. Jack's actions had not only saved her life, but had opened the door to understanding between their species. As Jack recovered in the medical bay of the human ship, Zara came to visit him. "The doctors say you will heal," she said, sitting beside his bed. Jack smiled through his bruises. "Worth it." Zara touched his hand gently. "You changed me, Jack Mitchell. You showed me that true strength lies not in domination, but in compassion, in risking everything for what you believe is right." "And you changed me too," Jack replied. "You reminded me why I became a doctor in the first place, to help others, no matter who they are." Outside the window, Earth and Arkari ships floated, side by side, no longer in battle formation, but in the beginning of what might one day be friendship. All because one human had risked everything to save someone who was supposed to be his enemy.